So, Andrew here. I just want to apologize at the beginning. We tried recording this for the second time and still were idiots and messed up the video. So, please bear with us. Hopefully, it'll get better. I think it will. It's almost there. So, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Nerdtier podcast, where you can be nerdy and not ashamed. I'm Andrew, and over there,
Brian.
Hey, there's Brian. Let's start off with some notes. Actually, first, like and subscribe this video. If you are listening to it on a podcast, please subscribe. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Download it. Do all the things. We also have a Patreon that's up and going. Ooh. Instagram. Facebook group, and that's I think that's all we got. Let's do a little bit of little house cleaning. Our Discord read along starts possibly tomorrow, whatever October 1st is for you.
That's not definitely not tomorrow.
That's like 2 days. 2 days. Okay. Well, no. By the time they hear it, because I'm going to upload this tomorrow.
Oh my goodness, you are correct.
I know. I see into the future.
I stand corrected.
So we are doing that. Sorry, that sounded delightful. We are going to be starting the Stormlight Archives, where the month of October, we are going to start in with the Way of Kings. And each week we're going to kind of break it up and have different discussions for each week. I am not expecting anybody to go through it all. If you are, great. If you've gone through the book before, come on in. Join some discussion. Talk nerdy with fellow nerds. I'm going to be on there. Are you going to be on there?
I'll be on there.
I was just trying to throw you under the bus there.
I'm not falling for it.
Well, here's a bus. Let's see here. And talked about all of that. Oh, and this is something I've been mulling over. At the end of the month, I know you probably, month's a long time, you might be able to catch up and do it.
With what?
The Way of Kings.
I won't.
Just in case.
I would love to.
Let's pretend like you are, and let's just
Dune
have
right
a
now.
conversation.
Okay, you're right. I might.
I want to, like, maybe the first of the next month, try and set up and do, because Discord, you can do a voice channel and have kind of a voice discussion of the entire book of like every member.
You mean like a talkie?
I don't know what a talkie is. Like a movie?
It's
like
when movies first became like, when they first had voice in movies, they just call them talkies because why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be awesome. Once our numbers get really big, that might be a giant pain in the ass. So we might put that behind like a Patreon wall. But that's my favorite part about books is being able to just sit down and bullshit with somebody. And now, like, talking back and forth on Goodreads or even Facebook, that's great and all, but I want to actually hear voice, hear conviction, all of that. So that's the part I'm most excited about. But let's go to the main topic of today.
Hey, what are we talking about today?
It's a doozy little title called Black Leopard, Red Wolf. I almost said Red Lion.
It's a different book, Wolf. Probably arguably a better book.
You don't know, by Marlon James.
You want me to read that summary?
Read that summary.
All right. So Black Leopard, Red Wolf is the story of Tracker on the hunt for a boy missing now 3 years. Multiple kings are looking for him as countries are on the verge of war. What's so special about this boy, and what purpose does he have to anyone? So I stole this next part from Vox. I thought it was pretty funny description of the book. So it says, Black Leopard, Red Wolf is a lush, epic fantasy set in an enchanted and mythical Africa, filled with quests and magical beasts and vicious battles to the death. But it's also a much weirder, twistier book than the Game of Thrones parallels would suggest. Most notably, it is not driven by story. So
that's pretty good. Okay, like here's a heads up. We've already done this episode once, and I'm an idiot and didn't record enough on my camera.
Didn't delete the last episode.
No, I did. I did. It was just filled with memes upon memes upon memes, and plenty of children's doing dumb shit children do, because that's what all parents have on their phone.
Are they okay? They're your children.
They are just making sure. They are my children.
Sure.
I hope. I mean, haven't gotten a paternity test. The sad thing is, like, I'm pretty sure my wife's one of the only 10 listeners. But I made this point the last time, so let's rehash it and see if it feels as good this time. I came into this book because I heard the Game of Thrones parallel, that it's an African Game of Thrones, which that sounds rad. First and foremost, this is not a Game of Thrones parallel. Whatever, like it is not the same thing, like, at all.
Not even close.
Not even close. Like the similarities is there's kings.
Yeah.
And there's real scumbag people. Like, that's about where it ends. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really loved Game of Thrones, and like, spoiler alert, I really liked this book. And,
do you want me to say something?
So how we've been doing our reviews, and I say that like we've done like 100 of them, but I want, when I go looking for a book, I want to know the reasons I should look at it and the reasons I should pass on it. Those, like, that's all I'm really looking for. And so if it's a good enough story, it'll be one of the reasons I should read it, or yada, yada, yada. So what I have been wanting to do is give a few reasons why somebody should read it and a few reasons why somebody shouldn't read it. Let's go with Brian for I should.
Okay, so this part was really difficult for me because I really did not like this book. Mm-hmm. So I tried to think of some other reasons why somebody might be interested in this. So number one for me would be it's a different style of fantasy set in a fictionalized Africa. So that sounds very unique to me, something that I've never read before. So I thought that was initially why I was actually pretty pumped to read this.
Yeah, I'll jump onto yours, like, because I don't think that's a part of one of my should reads. I found it enjoyable to, like, stop reading and look what a Amazulu really was, and like what depictions of it were,
right,
or like whatever the vampire thing is, like, because it was something that I have never ran across in my entire life. Like, I know a lot about chimeras and dragons and all this other European fantasies, but I had no idea about African
totally
mythological.
Totally new ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go with that. Mine would be the main characters were incredibly interesting to me. They were nobody in the story. No, I almost said but one, but even he was not a good person. Like, didn't have their own flaws. Like, I'm kind of getting tired of the almost like Jesus-like characters. Like, they're just the all that's man, and they might have a few moments of doubt, but overall they're the same characters from the beginning to the end.
So would you say you're a fan of Grimdark?
I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, Joe Abercrombie's First Law, which I saw an interview with.
Are those
him.
Grimdark?
They are classified as Grimdark. He hates that title of it being Grimdark. I mean, I just think it's like, so people aren't like just happy the entire time. Grimdark stamp. But most of the characters in the book were entertaining, and kind of like you wanted to know more about who they were, why they were the way they were. And it just that was one of the pulls through the entire book, that they just kept pulling me along. Let's see here. Oh, and every single character gave you a reason to love them, and a reason to mistrust them and hate them, all at the same time. Like, each character was very complex. Like, I can't say that in a lot of books that the complexity of.
I think you're thinking complex, but really it's just confusing. It's not. I just didn't follow the story at all.
Okay, let's go with this might fall into effect of why one of your reasons not to pick up the book. Speaking of confusing,
one of the reasons to not pick up the book.
To pass
Perfect. I'm. This is where I'm most comfortable in this review of the book. So, the writing style is so difficult to get into. Like, I could not visualize anything that was going on in the first 200 pages. Like, it was really hard. Other than gratuitous sex and or rape. Like,
yes.
he was very clear to make that where you could actually visualize everything.
Yes.
So that was like, how can you get into a story when you can't even understand what is going on? Like, I could not follow it. It was so confusing. So, like I said, that was the first 200 pages. Then after the first 200 pages, it was still difficult to visualize most of it. Like, you could kind of figure out what was going on. Like, or at least I could. It was easier, but still went back to, like, there'd be pages of descriptions, and I'd have to go back and read those pages of descriptions again and be like, yep, still don't understand what's going on. I have no idea. And like with the characters, you were saying, like, the characters went back and forth where I thought two different characters were the same person. I was so confused. Like, how can you get into a story if you just can't visualize what's going on?
I'm gonna and we'll continue this conversation because I would agree that this book was not. It is not an enjoyable book to read. It is a hard, slogging at times, feeling like I spent a lot of the time being like, what the hell, did I miss something? Did I complete? And I was vested in the book after 50 pages. Now that in and of itself, if it takes 50 pages for you to get vested in a book, that's not a good sign when like Sanderson can literally write in like 10 words and you're like, yep, gonna read 5,000 pages. so that's a hard, a hard one to get past because it's not pleasurable. Not only in the fact of the structure of it, because the entire book is a man by the name of Tracker telling a story to basically an interrogator, and his story is really convoluted, and he goes back on what he said and he fills in weird patterns, and like there's multiple times where I'm like, what the hell, like what happened to character ABC, like where are they? Like all of a sudden he's by himself, and it's like, and I just push through, and they end up explaining later what happened to him. But the entire time I was feeling like I am missing something. There's something I'm not getting, and
that's how I felt the whole way through.
And so the writing style was hard, but like the subject matter was awful at times. Like some horrendous shit happens in this book. Like there's a part of this book that like I've never read in a story that like it bothered me, and it was not. And
I really want to know what you're talking about. The only thing I can think of right now is with the hyenas.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And like that whole part was very, very like traumatizing. And like Marlon James wrote that part like almost like a look at the filth. Like this filth is like real life. The shit happens. And instead of just because it's fantasy and it's mythical creatures, like the shit's happening in the real world. Like, and this is how dirty and gritty it is. And it was that part, like, and there's earlier parts in the book where it was just like the crassness of human life and the crassness of sex is completely disregarded. And it is a hard, upsetting, gut-wrenching feeling to the point that like, I'm skipping that part because that's technically a spoiler, and I don't want to talk about it. Let's go with a reason somebody might read it.
So I put representation for same-sex relationships.
Yep.
But on reading that, what I just put, I don't know if this book is a positive for that situation, because it is, just like you said, none of these relationships are like romantic. It's all like about power, and it's all
There's one. There's
none of these relationships are healthy.
There's one. There is one, and I don't want to talk about it. We can talk about it afterward, but I do believe, and that is a character arc of the main character when there's an actual relationship. And God bless you get gut punched at the end of that. So yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like it is a, whoa, that is a loud water. So we updated our board, and now we have more power to our mics, and now everything's super loud. So if you
Can you hear this?
Brian's, yeah. Oh, super loud. Okay. This is making for great, great airtime. But I would say that it relatively positive. But then you can say on the exact opposite side, very anti-feminist views of the main character, which bleeds through everywhere. Which that's tough. Like,
every character is a witch, no matter what.
Oh,
every female character.
Every
is a
female's
witch.
a character is a witch, no matter what. Let's go with my number 2. Man, I think some of the writing, like, yeah, the writing's hard, but some of the lines that Tracker or Leopard or anybody else says is like a really meticulously crafted words. I have one that not everything the eye sees should be spoken by the mouth. Like that's like now think of that, but like 600 pages, like that kind of almost Yoda-esque speaking. And that's how this book can be. But like that's I that line jumped out at me. Or he is my friend, and then the Leopard says he is my friend, and then Tracker says nobody ever gets betrayed by their enemy. I was like, oh, that's a good one too. So like there was multiple times where I just stopped and would just kind of ponder on what was just said, either trying to figure out what they were talking about, or I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to phrase.
So what is your number 2 exactly?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm trying to piece together what you're saying here.
I'm saying that like even though one of my things is saying that it wasn't enjoyable, I still thought it at times was like incredibly beautifully written.
Oh, okay, I got it.
That's I think what I'm trying to say. I don't know. My brain told me to put something in there like that, and I was like, "Are you sure, brain?" And I said, "Yeah, do it, man." Let's go with your number 2 for dislikes.
So, first of all, this is a bonus part. There was a lot more foreskin in this book than I was expecting. Like people grabbing foreskin and like saying because he wasn't circumcised, he was part woman. And because he didn't get circumcised by a certain age, he was going to be that way forever. And also with the foreskin, just to be clear, I was expecting 0. So
that quota was well past.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know you could grab somebody by that. But anyways, so that was like the first 60 pages. There's tons of that in the first 60 pages. But okay, so reason number 2 to avoid. Why does your face look like that? What's wrong?
Are you on 2 or 3?
2 or 3 what? 2.
Whatever.
2. That was just a side note. That was a side note.
Okay.
So my number 2 is this book is like someone rambling on about things you do not care about. Like if I'm talking to you, I'm like, hey, guess what happens with Bitcoin? Like I'm going to go on and on telling you about Bitcoin. You're just going to sit there and be like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. You're like, how the fuck do I get out of here? Yeah, uh-huh. So that's what it was like for me, because he tells the same story over and over. And even when he is telling a story, like, I don't know what's going on. I can't visualize. It's so confusing. So yeah, it was such a chore for me to get through. There were moments when I was reading this book, like if we weren't doing this, I would not have finished it.
Okay.
And I try to make a habit of finishing every book I start. I would not have done it. And there were moments where I was very upset with you for you picking this book, because I did not enjoy this at all. That's all I got to say about that.
So mine, I was on a tirade, and that's why I was looking at my computer weirdly, that I think I said all 3 of my passes in the same pass, which kind of makes it a bummer.
We are on number 2, sir.
the okay, and I'll just touch more on the fact of the feeling lost. Since this is I mean it. So with it being basically it's a testimony. With it being all of his information, and he's spitting out information weirdly and disjointed, not in any kind of rhyme or reason, and it feels that way till the end. There wasn't like a big reveal that it's like, oh, this all makes sense now.
I had to call you and ask you what I just read.
I did that with our friend Brian, like all the time. And number one, reading through Reddit and stuff, and people are like, oh, you won't get it till your third read through.
Definitely not.
I hate people like that. Like, fuck you, man. Like, if you want to dive more into it, but like to truly enjoy a book, you've got to read it 3 or 4 times. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't ever have to do that. Like, maybe I'm just not meant to enjoy this book. But what I am, I'll turn this back into a negative that I think the sequel's already been announced, and it's going to be from another person's perspective. I want to know if his entire writing style changes, since it is a different person. Even when that person is talking in the first book, they don't talk like Tracker does. They talk way more like normal. Tracker talks like a caveman Yoda at times with how he talks, and you're just like, what the shit are you talking about? So that would probably be, and that really wasn't a negative. I don't know. I'll just bust it down like this. Well, this book is not enjoyable to read was my first negative. My second negative is the insanely harsh treatment of violence, sex, and human life. And then number 3 is the disjointed perspective with leaving holes out and swinging back around.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So what you kept telling me as I was trying to finish the book, and I was like, this sucks so much, I hate it. Like, I'm not into it. You're like, but the fight scenes towards the end are going to be really cool. And when I was reading them, it's not like a normal book where you read it and you're like there in the battle and you're seeing it happen. It's like somebody like watching it, like, okay, use the analogy of listening to a football game on the radio and they're announcing what's going on. That's kind of how the fight scenes work. So I could not enjoy those at all. It's like, okay, so somebody hit him, he blocked, he hit him again. Okay, I guess, and now we won. We saved the day. So did that not bother you?
No, it really didn't. I think that sometimes fight scenes in books can be a little long in the tooth, and it's just, some of them can, they can, and it's just like, cool, like, I don't need to know your 800th guard that you killed with, like, and I snapped a spear and stabbed him with a splintery end. Like, I'm like, cool, man, I don't know, but like the last fight scene I thought was fantastic. I think me and you read 2 different books at the end.
Yeah, the one I read was real bad. It was real bad. I kept waiting for it to get better like you said it would, and it never happened.
Oh, man. Okay. Finish off with your like.
Okay, so my third reason why you might want to read this, and again, I'm not advocating that anybody read this because I hated the book so much, but the third reason why somebody might want to is if you're already a fan of Marlon James. Marlon James, yeah. I'll never read another book of his again. But
really?
I was struggling so hard to find a third reason. I was like, I guess
you wouldn't give the next book one chapter. You wouldn't give it one chapter.
I will need at least a full year to even forget that this person exists.
I'm sure it'll be a year.
I hope. You think this feeling that I have right now of
one
hatred
chapter
towards it is going to go away?
Okay, here. This is off the cuff. Look at that cover. That is a dope-ass cover.
It is a dope-ass cover. Okay, and when I got it, because I got it before we were going to read it for this, and then so I just had it on my backlog. But if I would have started it and it's not a part of this, I definitely would have stopped. I can't believe I finished it.
I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you. So, my third reason for listening or doing this book would be actually the Audible. I absolutely loved it. Like, how I read a book is mostly I've got to read the first couple chapters like on my own. Like, I have to build up what I think and like establish these characters, and I can't glance over the very beginning. But after that, I can listen to an audiobook and offset it with reading. And Dion Graham, I think, did a fantastic job. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try. This is actually from the Audible. I'm sure there's copyright infringements, and I'm sorry. Let me know how I do this next time, and please don't sue me.
I was looking for a lover. I won't get a lover. I did lose another. I won't get.
Shit's weak.
Time make every man a widow, and every woman too.
Like, I don't know. I've seen multiple singing parts in Audible, and that guy, like, I literally looked for, like, tried to find him on on YouTube so I could like show off, like, this is a good Audible. Like, this is a good voice acting. All of his characters he made sound differently, which was one of your complaints, was you didn't know who was talking sometimes. He did a great job of giving each of them their own way of speaking, their own accents, their own personas. He was a good voice actor.
Yeah, okay. So I don't think I said that in the podcast yet, but that is a reason why. Like, they don't tell you who's actually talking when they're talking. It's just like, oh, I went to the store. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, it's like the back and forth. It never tells you who's saying what. Yeah. And so you got to go back and reread it and be like, okay.
Like, who started this?
Yeah.
And Leopard came up to me and said, and then now you know. But, like, that's 4 pages ago.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Anyway. So.
I still have one more reason why I don't like.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Why? Okay, so it was exhausting. The only character I kind of liked was an executioner. He was the most likable character in the book, if that tells you anything about this story.
He was one of my favorite characters. He was a well-written character. I enjoyed
I wouldn't
that
go
character.
that far. I wouldn't go that far.
I would. I will stamp that right now.
Yeah. Well,
so let's see here. Let's finish this episode up with, if somebody wants to completely disregard what you say and listen to what I say,
then they're just dumb.
What suggestions would you have for a book? I've always wished people would tell me that, because each book is different. Like, there's sometimes where, hey, yeah, make sure you pay attention to blah, 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 or
it doesn't matter if you pay attention to this one because it's so confusing. Like, even the people that like the book, it's confusing. Yeah. It's hard to figure out what's going on. So if you like something like that, go for it.
Okay.
If you want to enjoy something you're reading, read The Way of Kings.
Read
literally anything else. The Bible.
I mean, I'd probably pass on Poppy War.
That has nothing to do with this.
You hurt me, I hurt you.
I mean, I get that. Like, if you don't like something, it's not gonna. It's not gonna bother me. It's gonna amaze me how you don't. You know, because like, so you have this experience with Black Leopard, Red Wolf.
Uh-huh.
I don't have that experience, so it's like, how can you? We just have two different experiences. So you like garbage.
That's not true.
I'm sorry. I'm just still a little angry that I had to read it. That's all.
If somebody was telling me, man, I really want to read that book, which I'm going to be honest right now, I'm not encouraging a lot of people to read this. This is a hard read. Not saying like people aren't intelligent. Like, this is a rough read. Like, it is not a fun, enjoyable. It's definitely not for everybody. But my suggestion is find somebody who has read this book or who is reading it at the same time to help fill in the gaps for you, because
of which you'll have many.
There will. And like, I had a buddy, me and him, like, I read it after he read it, so I asked him a ton of questions, and then Brian's asked me a ton of questions, and it's kind of like, I didn't even consider it that way. So it's basically what it comes down to. It's the whole reason why we're doing this podcast and YouTube video is to build a community of people talking about books, because that's the best way to enjoy a book, is to talk about it. But I don't know. Good luck. Let me know if you've.
Are we gonna do ratings?
Oh yeah, let's
do ratings.
Shit, what did I put in for it?
I
did.
I can tell you. I can see what you put.
I can see what I put. Go for it.
Oh, me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you're wanting to end on a high note. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. So, literally the worst book I've ever read.
I don't know.
I wasn't done
that.
yet. Are you?
I don't. I believe you've read worse shit than this, and you have just
literally
pushed
have not.
it. You have pushed it
And
out
I've
of
read
your head.
all of the Boxcar Children.
Oh,
And they're so much better than this. No, like literally the worst book I've ever read. It's maybe tied with a different book of I don't even know how to say his name. Cixin Liu, the Chinese guy, the three body problem. Like I love that.
the guy who
that
loves
trilogy.
concentration camps.
That's neither here nor there. I love the Three Body Problem trilogy, but I hate one of his other books called The Supernova Era. It was a story that went nowhere, and it didn't even seem like it was by the same author, but at least I understood what was going on when I was reading it. But yeah, so it's tied with worst place for that one, and probably this one's worse.
I mean, that's opinions.
It is opinions, and that is mine.
And I do like that we have opposing views, because I don't like hearing like people just being cheerleaders for something. And
there's no way. It would be disrespectful for me to everybody that I ever told about this book if I said it was good. But okay, I'm being harsh, but like literally it is the worst book I've ever read. But you and Brian,
yeah, we both really liked it.
Different Brian, not me. Not this Brian.
I don't know. Because like now I'm put into a weird position with my rating. I literally in my notes I have it as a begrudging 8. Because there's so much hanging in the balance of this book based on its sequel. If its sequel comes out and is exactly like this one falls significantly in my ratings.
To what? So if you have it at an 8 right now,
probably a 6. Maybe even a 5, because if it fails to do what I think Marlon James did was completely embody the character of Tracker and wrote out his story. If that turns out to be just how he writes, then it's garbage. Like like I because then it's like, oh, he likes.
So we do agree? No.
But if it succeeds in what I think it is, it might be up there in one of my top series. Like, and I have that much hope for it and that much expectation that it's going to achieve that. And exactly what it is, I'm not sure. I have no idea.
I put in here, reading is supposed to be enjoyable, but I guess Marlon James would disagree.
That's pretty good. I don't know. Okay, I have pounded through a lot of fantasy books, and it's very, like, it's a fantasy book. They're going to have it wrapped up at the end, or it'll in the end of the series. Like, we'll somehow get out of this pickle.
Was there magic in this book? I know the witches were doing runes, but like,
I think she did some magic. I'm pretty sure. It's been a couple months since I've read it.
Somebody got like blasted with some spells?
Maybe. Well, I mean, there's shapeshifters.
Is that magic?
That's pretty dope.
All right.
So that will be that'll give up or that'll be our conclusion to this episode. It's taken 2 tries, 2 mixer boards.
This time.
Huh?
Hopefully we don't have to do a third time.
Good God.
I'm so sick of talking about this book.
I don't think we would do it a third time if this doesn't work.
All right.
I'm not gonna say what our next books are because
you read slow.
You do read pretty slow. So, and that's about it. So I'm going to play some music.
I thought you screwed it up.
I thought I did too.